Friends, please accept my greetings for the Vasanta Navaratri festivities of the Parabhava year and for the Rama Navami. I am starting a series of lectures titled Rama's Horoscope Revisited. It is an astronomical analysis of slokas in Valmiki Ramayana using Jagannatha Hora and Stellarium. As we proceed, you will appreciate why this particular title has been chosen for this presentation. The horoscope of Lord Rama has been one of the most researched one. Many orthodox people frown upon this idea, stating that the birth of the divine cannot be a subject of astrological investigation. But researchers say that Ramayana is an itihasa, meaning it happened thus, and hence Rama is a historical person, while Valmiki Ramayanam, the Adikavyam, is a description of the events that happened in Rama's life. How is it possible to reconstruct Rama's horoscope? Regarding the birth of Lord Rama, Valmiki Ramayanam contains many astronomical details. The seasonal month is Chaitra, positions of major planets are given, the birth star, the moon's position, Tithi, the angular separation between moon and sun, and the Lagna, the zodiacal house that is rising in the east at the time of birth, are all described very well. Thus one can reconstruct using an astronomy or an astrology simulator. With these details, the horoscope can be obtained. The details of birth of Lord Rama. We have to go to Valmiki Ramayana Balakantam, and the Sanskrit slokas are given here, and there is a video link that is given at the bottom which gives an excellent description of Rama's birth. But if you have a look at the details, it says the month is Chaitra, Tithi Navami, Shukla Paksha Navami. Birth in star, whose star lord is Aditi, that is Punarvasu Nakshatra. Lagna or the ascendant is Karkataka or Cancer, with moon and Jupiter present there. And 5 other planets are in their exalted rasis or positions. As per some scholars, in their own unexalted rasis. The Ranganathi Swami temple at Sri Langam has a tradition of celebrating Rama Navami in the Tamil Chaitra month, Vaisakha in the lunar calendar. These slokas, they give the details of birth of Bharata and the twin brothers Lakshmana and Shatrugna. Please follow the YouTube link that is given there for a detailed description of these. I like to describe the works of some notable Indian researchers on the birth of Lord Rama. The first that comes to mind is late Sri Pushkar Bhatnagar. In a seminal work is elaborated in his book dating the era of Lord Rama, published in 2004. Using the planetarium gold astronomical simulation software, that the positions of all the major planets were as per the description given by sage Valmiki on January 10, 5114 BC, and fixed it as the date of birth of Lord Rama. In addition, he went on to identify the dates of various events in the life of Lord Rama. Some major objections also are expressed by other scholars. One is the planetary positions he obtained are based on the tropical astronomy, that is what we call Sayana Siddhanta, whereas the Indian astronomy since ancient times based on sidereal or Nirayana positions. Nowhere Sri Bhatnagar has given the exact longitudinal positions of the planets, the sun and moon, but he has identified the tropical zodiacal houses. In the absence of such angular positions, it will be very difficult to identify the Tithi as Navami in the waxing phase of the moon. Sri Nilesh Vok has arrived at a date of around 12,240 BCE. The date also is given as 24th November 12240. He is a strong proponent of the view that the tropical astronomy was the system during Ramayana times. For and against his hypothesis are doing rounds in the media, and a realistic view is yet to emerge. Dr. V.Vartak, in his book The Scientific Dating of the Ramayana and the Vedas, published in the year 1999, arrived at December 4, 7223 BC as the date of birth of Lord Rama. He too has used the tropical astronomy with the annual precession rate of 50.2 arc seconds per year. Some observations of Dr. Vartak's work. 1. His date of Rama's birth has been arrived based on his date of identification of Mahabharata war as 16th October 5561 BC. He has mentioned the calculated values of Saturn, Mars, Jupiter and Rahu to be 200.4, 283, 92.6 and 181.69 degrees on the date of birth of Rama. Dr. Vartak mentions that Sun was at 15 degrees on 22nd December 7323 BC and the Amavasya had happened on the 25th November at 350 degrees when Sun was in Pisces. So on the 9th day after the new moon day, the moon should have advanced by 96 degrees for the Navami and puts the degree of moon as 89 degrees in Punarasu star, that is 96 minus 7. But Dr. Vartak has not added the 9 days advancement of Sun to 2 degrees of Aries, that is 353 plus 9, when the moon is at 89 degree. So the separation of the longitudes of the moon and the sun works out to be 87 degrees, which is Ashtami. Alternately, the sun was at the 15 degree Aries on 22nd December 7323 BC. On December 4, it would be at 357 degrees in Meena Rasi, that is 18 days gap, and the longitudinal difference would be 449 minus 357, that is 92 degrees, which again would be Ashtami Tithi only. Thus the Navami plus Punarasu combination does not happen. On the position of Venus, his views are more speculative and he has not said anything about Mercury. Dr. Jayashree Saranathan has extensively used the astrology simulator software Jagannatha Hora, developed by Dr. P.V. Narasimha Rao. Rama's date of birth was arrived at using Nirana calculations with True Chitpra Paksha or Ayanamsa as January 9, 5114 BC, but on Ashtami Tithi with the birth star being Punarvasu. Of course, on Navami Tithi the star would be Pushyami. Please see the reference that's given for a detailed description given by Dr. Jayashree. What is most interesting and intriguing is that the tropical Sayana approach of Sri Pushkar Bhatnagar and Nirana calculation by Dr. Jayashree arrived just 1 day difference for the date of birth of Rama in 5114 BC. In my work too, I have used the Jagannatha Hora astrology simulator as well as the Stellarium astronomy simulator extensively. In the outset, I like to express my gratitude to Dr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, who through his Jagannatha Hora astrology software gifted people like me to explore his astrology simulator and make it freely available. With the incorporation of JPL DE431 ephemerides, it allows archaeoastronomical dates to be freely explored. One can compute Sayana, that is tropical positions, as well as Nirana Drik positions with many Ayanamsas with the entire Panchanga details. The version 8 also has incorporated Surya Siddhanta computations with the expert assistance from C. Vinay Jha. A variety of options are also available to calculate positions of planets and other objects of astronomical interest. Equal appreciation is also extended to those associated with the Stellarium astronomy simulator that enables positional calculations of planets and stars of interest and the ability to calculate potential eclipses. When the JPL DE430 and DE431 ephemerides are incorporated, the Archaeoastronomy calculations take us to the deep past. The tropical positions of JHora and Stellarium can be verified against each other. The ability of Stellarium to provide visual images along with the positional information is a stunning advantage. In these calculations, Julian dates have been used so as to align with the published ephemeris as well as to aid those who want to verify themselves. The nakshatras on Rama Navami days. A look into the dates of the celebration of Rama Navami and the actual star on these dates as per Drik Pancham with True Chitpra Paksha Ayanamsa for the past 26 years reveals the following. At 12 noon Muhurta time, Ayodhya. When you look at the numbers, Punarvasu has occurred 10 times, Pushya for 11 times, Aslesha 2 times, and Ardra and Punarvasu 3 times. That is, the midday it is Ardra and a little later Punarvasu Nakshatram starts. Thus Pushya and Punarvasu are equally likely. On the day of Rama's birth, it was star Punarvasu. The importance of Tithi in celebrations. Most of the Hindu festivals are observed on the basis of the Tithi. Example, Rama Navami, Janmashtami, that is Lord Krishna's birth, Ganesh Chaturthi, Naga Panchami, Ratha Saptami, Bhishmashtami, Sivaratri, that is Krishna Chaturdasi in that midnight. Even if the birth stars mentioned in the literature do not align with every year, the festivals are observed. In the case of Rama Navami, the astro simulators might show a star other than Punarvasu, but to align with Valmiki Ramayana, it is necessary to look for a Navami plus Punarvasu combination, in addition to the planetary combinations mentioned for the purpose of dating Rama's birth. Now comes the most important question. How unique are the planetary positions on the date of birth of Lord Rama? Have the planetary positions on the day of Rama's birth occurred in earlier as well as later eras to the proposed dates by the scholars? This is an important question to be answered. In the subsequent slides, I like to answer this question with the Nirvana positions for Sun, Moon and other planets using True Chitpra Paksha Ayanamsa for the sake of uniformity, even though other Indian Ayanamsas may provide nearly same positions. Of the many dates I have found, I will concentrate the dates in the BC. For example, BC 286 March 15th is the day of Ram Navami, and the JHora calculations and planetary positions are given here, and you can exactly see the kind of positions that are discussed for Rama's horoscope are here. This year 286 is of some importance, which I will describe with you in the next slide. Here, the planetary positions on BC 286 Vaishakha Shukla Panchami is given. This horoscope is very similar to that of Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara's horoscope is stated to be very similar to that of Lord Rama, but his date of birth is also not very clearly ascertained, but the traditional dates talk about 508 BC, here Nandana, Vaishakha Shukla Panchami, Ardra or Punarvasu star. Here you can see Sun in Mesha, Jupiter in Kataka, Saturn in Tula and Mars in Capricorn or Makara Rasi. So 4 planets are in exaltation and Moon in Ardra star. So it's important to see that the combinations of planetary exaltation occurred here too, except in Rama's horoscope it is 5 planets which are in exaltation. Here you see the planetary positions that are calculated for the date 4497 BC, 9th February. It's a Julian date. At midday, it is a Cancer ascendant with Moon and Jupiter together, Saturn in Libra, Mars in Capricorn, Venus in Pisces, that is Meena Rasi. So Jupiter, Saturn, Mars and Venus are in exaltation, and Sun and Mercury are together with the exalted Venus aspected by Jupiter. Rahu and Ketu are in Vrishchika and Rishabha Rasi respectively. The birth star happens to be Pushami. The positions of Jupiter and Moon are given in this screenshot generated by Stellarium for the date which we discussed in the previous slide. You can see the Yogatara of Punarvasa Nakshatram Pollux and another star Castor are also seen in this picture. So one can see both Jupiter and Moon are rising, with Jupiter just rising a little after Moon. Here the planetary positions on Chaitra Shukra Navami in 6265 BC, January 27th is given. Here too we see Cancer ascendant, Moon and Jupiter together there, with Jupiter, Saturn, Mars and Venus in exaltation, Sun along with Venus in Meena Rasi, Rahu is in Dhanus and Ketu in Mithuna. So here too the birth star happens to be Pushyami. Here you see the screenshot that is generated using Stellarium around rising of the Moon in the east. The time happens to be around 1:30 p.m. We can see that Jupiter has already risen, but both are in the Cancer. Jupiter happens to be slightly closer to Pollux, that is the Yogatara of Punarvasu Nakshatra. Here you can see the third date, 9799 BC, January 8th. This is also a Chaitra Shukla Paksha Navami day with Pushami in the mid-afternoon. We can see Moon and Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn exalted in Libra and Mars in Capricorn. Venus is in its own house. Interestingly, Mercury is positioned in Mesha Rasi, aspecting Saturn. Sun is in Meena Rasi. The interesting thing here is, as per the sloka, Swa, Ucha are the two words. If it is split into two, then Venus presence in Rishabha makes this date also be acceptable. Here you see the screenshot that is generated in the afternoon hours of 9799 BC, 8th January. The screenshot is taken around the time Jupiter has been rising in the east. As you see, Moon has already risen a bit and Yogatara Punarvasi is seen. Stellarium shows that Jupiter is just close to Leo, but whereas JHora with Ayanamsa corrections shows both Jupiter and Moon are in the Cancer, but Jupiter in the Auslesha star. Here is another date in very deep past, 10416 BC, 18th January. Here you find Moon and Jupiter in the Cancer ascendant with Jupiter, Saturn, Mars and Sun in exaltation. Venus is in its own house. If you remember the Valmiki sloka, 5 planets are either exalted or in their own house. So Venus is its own house here. The star is Punarvasu, but the Tithi is Saptami. So please remember this, as I will explain this difference in the Tithi a little later. Here you see the screenshot that is generated for the specific day in the afternoon, 1:45 p.m., coinciding with the rising of Jupiter in the east. As you see, Moon has risen slightly ahead of Jupiter. And you can also see the Yogatara of Punarvasu, the polars seen there, essentially meaning that we are in the Cancer ascendant. Here you see the planetary positions are another Shukla Paksha Navami, 7119 BC, 19th January. The star happens to be Pushkar with Jupiter and Moon in Cancer. Saturn is in exaltation in Tula. Venus and Mars in Kumbha Rasi. Sun in Meena Rasi. Mars in Dhanur Rasi. This combination has to be seen in association with the next slide, which I am explaining now. Here you see the planetary combinations, roughly about some 26-27 days later than the previous slide. Here you see all the 5 planets in their exalted position, but the Tithi being Saptami with the Punarvasu stop. Here you see the Stellarium screenshot generated for the rising of Moon on 7199 BC, 15th of February. As you see, Moon and Jupiter are almost simultaneously rising with the Yogatara polars of Punarvasu being seen there, except Tithi being Saptami. This date also comes closer with the description of the planets in exaltation in the Valmiki Ramayana. Here you see the planetary positions that is calculated by JHora for the tropical positions of the planets on 5114 BC, 10th January, the date proposed by Pushkar Bhatnagar as the date of birth of Lord Rama. In this slide, you see the tropical positions of various planets as shown by planetarium gold for the date of birth of Rama given by Pushkar Bhatnagar. Sun in Aries, Jupiter and Moon in Cancer with Cancer as ascendant, Saturn in Libra, Mars in Capricorn and Venus Mercury in Pisces. But nowhere Sri Bhatnagar had given in his book the actual angular positions of the planets, without which it is difficult to calculate whether the star was actually Punarvasu or Pushyami for that matter, and the Tithi as Navami. Here you see the Nirayana horoscope of Lord Rama, generated with Valmiki Ayanamsa by Dr. J.H. Here we see Moon and Jupiter in Cancer with Cancer as ascendant, Mars in Makara, Sun in Mesha and Venus and Mercury in Meena Rasi. But Saturn is positioned in Vrishchika Rasi and not in its exalted Tula Rasi. Besides, the Punarvasu Nakshatra was on the Ashtami Tithi on 9th January 5114 BC, but on the Navami day the birth star is Pushkar. The date of January 10, 5114 BC is favored by many as the date of birth of Lord Rama. However, with the use of any of the current Nirena Ayanamsas in practice in India, Lagiri, Pushya Paksha, Raman, Usha Sashi, Chandrahari or any other, Saturn remains in Scorpio. The use of galactic center Ayanamsa at 0 Sagittarius 0 puts Saturn into Libra, but the birth star remains at Pushyami on the Navami day. Regarding this date, Sri Vinay Jha has written an extensive critical opinion, Itihas Ka Uphas, with a view that the JPL Aswini Marys do not capture the ancient thinking. Currently we have the popular Lagiri, Pushya Paksha and Revati Paksha Ayanamsas based on Spica, Delta Cancri and Zeta Piscium stars respectively, but they are 20th century Ayanamsas, and the anchor star in the past would have been very different. The astronomy of India must have had an ancient tradition. The zodiacal first house Mesha, sidereal Aries, has Aswini as the first star, which has 3 visible stars close by, with the brightest being Hamal. How Rama's horoscope would be if the Nirena positions are computed in relation to the position of Hamal. Stellarium gives an equatorial longitude value of 299.5 degrees in January 5114 BC for Hamal. I calculated the Nirena positions in relation to the position of Hamal from the topical longitudes generated by JHora. Here we see the Nirena horoscope of Lord Rama generated relative to Aswini, the Alpha Aries star. Here the date is 20th February 5114 BC in Julian calendar, with the Gregorian calendar being January 10, 5114 BC. Here we get the ascendant as Cancer with Moon and Jupiter there, Saturn in Libra, Mars just entering Capricorn, Venus in Pisces or Meena Rasi, its exalted position, with Sun and Mercury along. Rahu is in Dhanu Rasi and Ketu in Mithuna Rasi. The interesting feature here is that both Moon and Jupiter are in Punarvasu Nakshatra 4th Pada, and the Chaitra Sukla Navami of the year Parabhava. Incidentally, the current year also happens to be Parabhava in the lunisolar calendar. Here you can see the simultaneous rising of Jupiter and Moon on 5114 BC, 20th February, that is the Julian date, at around 12:20 PM, Ayodhya. The Yogatara of Punarvasu, the Pollux, is also seen in the background. So one can see that some conditions that is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, that is a simultaneous rising of Moon and Jupiter in Cancer, at the time of Lord Rama's birth is being simulated. So in the case of 5114 BC date, the correction with Hamal has brought the position of Moon and Jupiter into Punarvasu 4. The correction using Hamal for other dates too brings the Moon into the Punarvasu, but the effects on other planets needs fuller examination. As we have seen in simulations done for other ancient dates of Chaitra Shukla Navami, the birth star often turned out to be Pushyami. This led to the thought as to whether we are overcorrecting the position of Moon with the current Nirayana Ayanamsas. But the stars of Aswini have high latitude values and were not favored as anchor stars for Nirayana in Siddhantic times, but could have been used in very ancient times. The position of Sun in Rama's horoscope is the most controversial one. The placement of Sun in sidereal Aries, Mesha Rasi, cannot produce the Navami plus Punarvasu 4th pada combination, as Navami starts when the Moon-Sun angular difference is 96 degrees. This makes Sun not to be in its exalted house, but always associated with the exalted Venus in the Meena Rasi, both aspected by Guru Jupiter. Sri K. N. Rao has given a detailed explanation on this aspect. Please see the video link that's given. If Sun were to be positioned in Mesha Rasi in Rama's horoscope, how far it can come into the Mesha Rasi? This has been studied by Sri Raghavendra Sai Akini Pragada and Dr. Venkata Chakandi, who analyzed the angular duration of from Prathama to Ashtami for a period of 10 years in lunar Chaitra Masa and found that in years 2017 and 2016, the Ashtami Tithi ended at around 86 degrees 40 minutes only, and put the limit of the position of Sun up to 7 degree 20 minutes in sidereal Aries, as Punarvasu ends at 3 degree 20 minutes in Cancer. Please see the reference for the paper. One can go through it fully there. But for the days investigated, they have not given the longitudes of Sun and Moon at midday on the Ram Navami, and hence the actual star at that time could not be ascertained. But JHora gives the stars as Pushyami on 2016 and Punarvasu in 2017, with Sun at 1 degree 40 minutes and 350 degrees 57 minutes respectively. The faster completion of the duration up to Ashtami Tithi instead of 96 degrees is possible when Moon is moving towards its perigee in these days, but that does not guarantee Navami plus Punarvasu combination at the time of birth. The planetary combinations, as described by Valmiki Ramayana, are now shown to have occurred at least 6 times between 4400 BC to 10,500 BC. Some more dates could be hidden between this period as well as further down the timeline. Which among these could be the date of birth of Lord Rama? The presentations planned in future will address this question. Thank you.